if you take a picture, so help me. Just whatever. Anyway, so this was all garbage, and I'm really sorry for that entire segment.
Blah, 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 blah. Delete.
Welcome to the Busy Girl's Guide to the Bible podcast. I'm Andrea, and this podcast is my own ramblings and lessons that I have learned in trying to balance being a Christian, a wife, a mom, a writer, a business owner, a photographer, a blogger, a friend, a daughter, a sister, and the 1 million other things that make me me. What I want so badly is to teach other women that the Bible doesn't have to be confusing or frustrating or even over your head. I want to teach you the ways that I have learned to carve out time, not only to get into the Bible, but to apply it, make sense of it, and get practical takeaways in everyday life.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Busy Girl's Guide to the Bible podcast. I am so excited that you're here with me today. This episode is going to be bananas. I have 3 of my closest girlfriends with me, and we are going to talk about sex, and I'm so excited about it. So settle in, get your coffee, and yeah, let's get awkward about sex. So what I want to do to get us started is I want to introduce you to these amazing women. I have 3 buddies here, and I'm going to start with my friend Darcy, because she's the hottest. I'm sorry, guys, but she is.
Hi, I'm Darcy, and I have been married since July, and I have no kids.
Lucky. Okay, so then next to me on my right, not that you care, is Stephanie. Stephanie, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Stephanie. I've been married since November of 2007, so almost 11 years. And I have 3 little boys that are freaking adorable.
And I want to keep the 3rd one because he's the best. And then to her right, again, who cares where they're sitting, is my friend Brittany. And she, let's be honest, she's probably going to take over today. So just bear with us.
You're crazy. I'm Brittany, and I've been married almost 10 years, and I have 3 girls.
Thanks, guys. That was great. And hi, yeah, this is Andrea again. I have been married for 11 years, and we have 3 kids. And what else did I ask you guys? Oh, that was it. Oh, I have kids, and okay. So let's be awkward. Why are we talking about sex? Well, in talking to my girlfriends, like over the last few months, we've all talked about how much shame comes into marriage and sex that we didn't even realize that we had. And a lot of that is background. A lot of it is not knowing what the heck we're doing. A lot of it is awkwardness and baggage. And so I wanted to have, like, when I imagined talking about sex on the podcast, which is a weird thing to say, I imagined sitting in my bedroom with my girlfriends, which, again, super weird to say. But I just thought if we have this like roundtable discussion about it and talk about what we brought into our marriage and what our husbands brought into our marriage, respectfully, then maybe we could get to the bottom of some of this drama that we bring into our marriages and into our marriage bed, and how we can kind of combat that and maybe like tell the next generation, like, hey, you don't have to do the things that we did. You don't have to be awkward like we were. And maybe we can change the narrative about sex and what we teach young women. You guys can like nod and say yes if you agree with me.
Agreed.
Okay, cool. Okay, so we're sitting here discussing who's a skank and who's not. But let's just rip the Band-Aid off. So who waited?
I did.
I did. And who didn't wait? Me. Guys, it's okay. Okay, so those who didn't wait, did you guys feel like you brought baggage into your marriage?
You go first.
I mean, yeah, a little bit, because I don't know. I guess I felt like
We're getting her closer to the microphone.
I guess I felt like a failure in a sense, kind of, and ashamed, of course. Like, I think it's never something that I planned for myself, but I did have sex with my husband. He was my first one, but we didn't wait till we were married, so.
Is he the only one?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Cool story, bro. What about you? You want to talk about it?
I don't know. I honestly, I don't really feel like I brought baggage. I don't know. I think by that point, I've already been over it. I'm not kidding. Because it happened a long time ago, and we both have slept with multiple people before we even met. And then when we did it in college, we did it.
Oh my gosh.
When we broke up, we
We're like
slept
children.
with other people, and so I mean, we probably realistically we did bring a lot of baggage, but I think we've talked through it and we've worked past it.
That's cool. So you guys talked about it?
Oh yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
like all the time.
Okay, so this is for the waiters. That's not what I meant. Actually, you waited tables.
I did 4 years.
So she is technically a waiter in both
TGI
senses.
Fridays in the house. Bar back.
Anyway, okay, so you waited, but did you feel like, just talk about your feelings. How did you feel when you got married?
I was honestly scared to death of sex. I knew that the moment that I had sex with my soon-to-be husband at the time, I would be pregnant. Like, that his sperm would just, it was super, yes, he had super sperm. I just do it. And I had 3 siblings that were looking after me. Yes, she snorted. So I was really nervous that, I was going to get pregnant and
Die?
and die. Yes. Legit, because that's what happens. And I was on birth control because it wasn't right for my family. That's not what we were supposed to do. And we weren't Catholic, but it was still you're not sexually active, so why do you need to be on birth control? It was very, very serious.
Okay, so your birth control was dependent on your family.
Yeah, at the time. Yes, they were my birth control. They were up in my head.
That's awesome.
So while I did not necessarily bring baggage of past relationships or past sex partners, I brought a ton of just shame from things that we did do that weren't actually sex, and also just that fear of being that dirty girl, and I didn't want to be dirty. So it was that weird, okay, now all of a sudden it's okay, but all of these are just been this nasty, dirty thing that you don't talk about.
Fun. So we're just getting into it. So we waited until we got married. But what I will say is that I obviously had no idea what the heck I was doing. And because I grew up Baptist, which most of my, anything that has to do with the Bible or anything, I always have hashtag recovering Baptist in there, because for me, growing up in the church and growing up in that school, it was very much that that narrative in Mean Girls. If you have pregnant, can't have pregnant. If you have sex, you're gonna get pregnant and die. And it was a joke with everybody at school, but it was also kind of this: you're gonna get pregnant and die because your mother is going to murder you. That was just what we knew, and also maybe that was my mom. Heyo. So for me, it was this terrifying thing. It wasn't that I didn't want to have sex before I got married. It was that I didn't want to get pregnant and ultimately be kicked out of my house and murdered. So it was this terrifying thing where I wasn't sure, and I really didn't want to be the dirty girl. I didn't want to be the one I didn't like to break rules. I don't like to upset people. And so I was very cautious about that kind of stuff. And I think if you ask my husband, at the time, I was definitely the aggressor. And I was like, no, it's fine. We can just have sex. And he was like,
Same.
Yeah. So it was definitely a different kind of, growing up experience, because it wasn't about me not wanting to have sex. It was about not wanting to get in trouble. And that was where all that shame came in. And that was kind of I think that's how the dog wants in. I think that's kind of how we get kids to not have sex is to kind of go the shame route. Like, you can't do this because you'll get, if you take a picture, so help me. You know, just whatever. Anyway, so this was all garbage, and I'm really sorry for that entire segment.
You are ridiculous.
Okay, so Steph and Britt. Can I call you Steph and Britt?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Totes.
So you guys have some heaviness in your background. And so I want to kind of address that because I know a lot of people have had the same stuff happen to them. And so I want to just talk about how you dealt with it in your marriage, what you brought into your marriage, and how it affected you, how it affected your sex life.
Let me go first.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had some freaky cousins, basically. Sneaky freaky. It's really cool. I actually just got freedom from this at our last women's conference, which is pretty sweet. It's always been something that's been really hard throughout my marriage, that I had some handsy cousins growing up, and they kind of took some of that purity away from me, I guess you could say. Touching, aggravating, whatever they could do to kind of just, they knew I was a good girl. I was the good girl of the family. So they did everything they could to kind of mess with me and what they considered was silly purity. And because of that, they did things to me that really sucked, and literally and figuratively. Oh, yes. Let's delete that. So yeah, it was really hard on me. It was really hard on my marriage because there were things that, are obviously sacred in the marriage bed that weren't sacred for me. They made me feel dirty, and like I didn't belong. Like I wasn't deserving of those things. It was at a place, those things happened in a place where I should have been safe, but I wasn't. And, it makes it really hard when your cousins are supposed to be like the closest people in your life, but they're not, because they're actually, in my case, somewhat dangerous, I guess.
Worst.
Yeah. And it was hard, and it took me almost, I would say 6 years into my marriage to finally tell my husband what happened and the reason why I had such a hard time having sex, and foreplay and anything, it made it really difficult. So, but God really gave me this vision of looking at them from their perspective, or from his perspective, of when they were children and the things that went through their lives, and things that happened to them, and why they would think it would be okay to do those things to me. And it just really gave me this compassion for them that just kind of blows me away. And actually kind of the last couple of days, it's kind of come to my head, and it's like, hey, I've already forgiven them. And it's such a cool feeling because I've been literally living with this since I was a little girl.
So how do you feel like, since you were able to talk about it and kind of forgive them, like how has that changed your sex life?
It's very freeing. Hey, I'm all about foreplay now.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. And it's amazing how my perspective has just changed, and the way that I look at my husband. Because it's not fair to him for me to think, oh, this is dirty. Like, this is the marriage bed. Like, hey, we got to have fun. Like, that's what God meant this for. Intended for pleasure, And
was that a book
and that's
plug?
What it is. Hey.
Apparently that's a book. It just sounded like it was.
A recommendation. A friend gave it to me actually whenever we got married.
Friend.
Yeah, because she was worried.
Oh gosh, I thought it was a man.
Nope, definitely a she. Because she knew my fears and the things that I had gone through, and she got married just before I did, and she was living with a lot of shame and she was totally freaked out when she got married as well, and she was like, "Hey, listen, sex is awesome. Read this book." And you'll know why it's so awesome. So thank you, Jesus, for sex. Yay!
So that's funny that you say that, because I found this verse today and I love this version of it. and I've never heard this before. So it's Proverbs 5:17-18. And it says, enjoy the wife you married as a young man, lovely as an angel, beautiful as a rose, which, I mean, I couldn't hear that enough. Don't ever quit taking delight in her body. Never take her love for granted. Why would you trade enduring intimacies for cheap thrills with a whore? I mean, that's aggressive, but but I love that because it's saying like, this is like, go crazy. Like, this is what our bodies are intended for, and they're in what is it?
Intended for pleasure.
Oh, intended for pleasure. Okay, good one. Got it. So it's great that like the Bible is saying, get down and dirty, guys. Like, go at it. I mean, Song of Solomon is like porn, so it's great. That was weird. Let me just stop here and say that it is 1,000 degrees in my room right now. We are all like taking layers of clothes off and not in a hot way. Okay, so sorry. Brittany, would you mind sharing your story?
Yes. Well, like Steph, I also was sexually abused by my cousin, and it happened from the time I was like 5 until I was like 12. And I remember pretty vividly the last time it happened. He was leaving my parents' house, and I didn't really know anything was wrong until he was leaving, and he said, please don't tell anyone. And then I felt like the Holy Spirit just nudged me and told me that something was wrong. And so I went and told my parents about it, and I don't know. I guess I was under the impression when I was younger that they talked to my aunt about it and things were talked about, but nothing was really talked about. And actually, after my third baby was born, I ended up talking to my aunt about it, and she said that she never knew. And so I felt, I think, just a lot of shame from not really having my parents stick up for me, but also just the junk that comes along with it. And how it's affected my sex life, I guess there's like weird things that like when I married Tyler, I guess I couldn't do. And even to this day, sometimes I still struggle with them, but my husband is amazing and he knows everything that happened. And so he, whenever I'm having like a panic attack about it or whatever, he will sit with me and we'll kind of talk about it, and he's very sensitive. So it has affected me. It's affected me my whole life. And I feel like I have gotten some healing from it. I won't say that I'm completely healed because I feel like sometimes when I see him or things will trigger me and it brings me back to that spot. But my cousin actually had a daughter, and so I have 3 girls, and I ended up giving him all of my kids' clothes as a way to like just release him and like in a weird way let him know like I forgave him. But more importantly, I think I had to forgive myself because I was so young. I don't really feel like anyone had my back, and no one really stood up for me. And whether or not they believed me, like they didn't do anything about it. And so yeah, I mean, that whole thing has affected me. So,
Do you feel like you've had to forgive your parents or any family members? I mean, like your aunt?
I think I was more angry at my mom and dad. And
Yeah,
I
that makes
can't
sense.
say that I've still forgiven them from it. Just because I think, I mean, I'm a mom of 3 daughters. Like, I would do anything
Right.
to protect them. So if my kids ever came to me, and we've had some situations, even with my oldest, where I've had to step in and be like, something's not right here. But in the end, like, you know, I'm the only advocate for them for right now.
Well, and
So-
moms have those spidey senses.
Yeah.
When you know like something's not right, and especially coming from your background, like you're gonna have more of a, I don't know, a heightened sense of awareness there. Mm-hmm.
And kids have a weird way of like admitting to things. So they won't just come out and say like, oh, this person is doing this. They'll like make subtle like comments, which I'm sure you probably feel too. And so I'm like, I just try and listen to them, but also, you know, I think the bigger picture is that it doesn't affect you just right now. It affects you your entire life, and you can forgive and forget. But then once you get in that position with your husband, it's hard to be like to separate the two and be like, okay, this is a healthy situation and this is what it's supposed to be. And then this is what it isn't supposed to be. And this isn't how it's supposed to make you feel. So like rectifying those 2 things, I think was really, really hard for me.
I think too, forgiveness in any avenue of life is like an onion. Like you peel back layers as you go, and as you get older, and especially as situations come up, like you're gonna find, oh wait, I need to forgive this person again because something else has triggered something else inside of me.
Yeah.
So
Over and
sorry.
over. It's okay. I'm
But
good.
it sucks.
I know. I'm good.
Well, good. I'm glad because you're awesome. I love you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this Busy Girls Guide to the Bible podcast. I hope you enjoyed this week. Actually, guys, we're like way over time. So, hey, we're going to split this into 2. So thanks for listening. This was awesome. If you have any questions, leave me a comment, a message, whatever. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Leave me a little comment, a little note to let me know whether you hate me or you love me. I want to hear it all. I love you guys. Have a great week. I'm praying for you. See you next week. Bye-bye. So I'm notorious for dropping my phone, and I'm really excited about this new case that I got from Loopy Cases. Have you ever heard of them? They're amazing. Yes. Yeah, they're awesome. So this week, for all my listeners, you are going to get 10% off your Loopy case with the code LEBEAU10, LEBEAU 10. Use that when you go to get your Loopy case, and I promise you're going to love it, and you're not going to drop it.